I'm going to call the collective committee meeting to order for January 5th, 2026 at 7 p.m. First item on our agenda this evening is public input. Anyone in the audience wishing to address council at this point, come up, address your comments to the chair, and we'll begin. Anyone want to come forward? Mr. Phillips, welcome and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Gerald Phillips, Avon Lake. Talk about the income tax and the fiscal condition of our city. Well, the income tax is going to be raised by 0.4%. So all you residents in Avon Lake who actually work in the city of Avon Lake, you're going to pay another 0.4%. And those residents who actually work outside the city, the resident tax credit is going to stay at 1.5, so you're going to pay the 0.4% on any income, your wages. So if you made $80,000, that's $320 a year. $60,000 is $240. I've been a resident for 20 years, and we never had to have an increase in income tax. But this income tax increase will go effect in 2027. The question the residents should ask, why? Well, it's my opinion. We've had city mismanagement, a lack of planning. We don't look in the future. We just look for the immediate, failure to plan, and we have no cost control. We have no priorities in spending. We don't realize we have limited funds, and when something comes up, we just spend it. So I believe those are the problems. Public Works Director, we had to hire one. We hired Jonathan Likovic, and his salary is higher than the applicants who are engineers who applied for the job and never got considered. That's an example of wasteful spending. He's only got a 2-year associate's degree. The requirements were 4 years. Why is that? Got appointed by the mayor, Spetzel, who appoints the law director, Gary Ebert. Jonathan is Gary Ebert's law director. Sure smells to me. That's an example of mismanagement. Also in the Public Works Department, we had to hire an assistant manager, and we've hired individuals. We got more people in the Public Works Department working than we did under Joe Wrights when I've been in the city for 20 years. We don't need that many people, but we just spend money. Mayor got a $25,000 increase, not based on merit, and we give 3% every year. 2024, at the end of the year, we gave 3% to all non-union. Now we gave them another one for 2025. Automatic, not based on merit. Not based on merit. We just give increases just because we like to. You don't have a job for life just because you work for the city of Avon Lake. You got to prove and earn it. Planning department. Now we got 3 people in it. Miss LaRosa, Mr. Page, and Ted Esborn. We never had that many people. Mr. Page is the son-in-law of James Camillia. He's a developer. There's my opinion, potential conflict of interest. And Ted Esborn, who's the economic development director, he's appointed by the mayor. He's been a complete failure. We don't have an economic development plan. Listen to Mr. Shamir for the last year and a half or since he's been on council. We don't have it. We don't have an economic development plan. But yet we're paying him over $100,000. I'll take that job for less. When we give these raises and increases, it's just not the dollar amount. There's fringe benefits. 11%, I believe, is the PERS. Gary Ebert, $1.2 million in legal fees between 2020 and 2024. If you look at the increase based on his increases, it's like 12% that we're paying. Okay? And then we're paying for outside counsel. If we're paying that much for outside counsel, then what's Gary Ebert doing? We paid Todd Davis over $250,000. And Todd Davis doesn't represent the city. He's been representing ALERG. What has occurred is basically, we have ineffective leadership from the administration, from the mayor. I would call it managerial malpractice. I looked at the CAFRA, and we got $13 million in receivable from Lorco for the sewer fund. We got $3.5 million receivable from Lorco on the water fund. You know, the water department is great. It's the most efficient, but we're considering giving it away with this 6119. I don't know how foolish the city of Avon Lake could be to give that away. I mean, it's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Anyone else wishing to address council? Happy New Year, Mr. Baker.
Happy New Year, President Smith. Thank you. So tonight's, apologize, I'm just reading over the updated agenda. So I'm following up on my inquiries made during public comments on November 17th, and it has to do with the the budget work sessions, related finance committee meetings, and tonight's agenda items that will be discussed regarding the proposed income tax increase. So my understanding, and please, that's why I'm going to recap it in case I've misspoken here or misunderstanding. The city is in need of $44 million today, just to address today's roadway repair needs, not tomorrow's. And that during the budget hearing, Mayor Spetzel brought to the table seeking income tax increase and requested council to add levy issue to the spring 2026 ballot. As you consider Resolution 26-1 tonight, if you do consider that, find it helpful to gain some clarity on the previous inquiries and current inquiries. So I sat through a couple of the last 3-year budget hearings, and I'm just trying to grasp, and I'm hoping you could have some discussions on this tonight and explain how we went from what seemed to be us meeting our financial needs to hearing discussions of financial crisis and overwhelming need. I'm just curious as to what occurred, because I just want to wrap my head around. I don't recall hearing any of these concerns being discussed during the 2024 budget hearing. With the current need being $44 million and growing, what do we anticipate the expected approximate, if it's still the same, the last year was approximate $5 million in revenue to achieve? It sort of feels like a Band-Aid, and we're going to get through the next cycle, and I'm just trying to figure out what we'll achieve. You know, how do these levy funds fit into achieving a longer-term financial stability and sustainability of street maintenance program? Where is that plan that shows how these levy funds will support that plan? During the budget hearing, the mayor mentioned that if the levy failed to pass, there would be cuts. Just wondering what specific cost-cutting actions, again, I asked this before, would need to be taken, and if any of those are being considered now. And finally, during your discussions, it would be helpful, I'd be helpful for me to hear any specifics on what alternative sources of revenue are also being sought to supplement the needs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. I think that during the Finance Committee, we'll probably answer some of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Zimmerman, come on up. Happy New Year to you.
And to you, Mr. Smith, and to all of the council. William Zimmerman. So as everybody's talking about, it's money. And for 30 years, we haven't had to put a issue on the ballot for income tax. I know things have changed along those 30 years. But I don't think they've changed as much as now all of a sudden we're at a deficit virtually. I don't understand that. You want us to buy 23 more acres of park space for $15 million. There's no way it's worth that. We have plenty of park space in our city already, as I've indicated before. We have 15% park space. And I don't understand how that's not enough. Most communities have less. As I've indicated many times, I've spoken to employees up there at Miller Road Park. And they told me it's underutilized. Their interpretation of it. So I don't understand how we all of a sudden need to add another 23 acres to the same place. The white elephant now that sits there on Lake Road, where the old power plant used to be, is going to be there a long time, in my opinion. I don't think people are lining up. They're not looking to buy it. It still has to be remediated. It's going to cost them a ton of money. Citizens of Avon Lake, you need to understand.
Excuse me, Mr. Zimmerman,
Sure.
comments seem to be through the chair.
Well, I can look at the chair and look up as well.
Well,
Very
but
capable.
It's very much that you're supposed to make your comments through the
I
chair.
shouldn't have to maintain eye contact, and now you're wasting my time.
I'll give you an extra 30 seconds if you like.
Thank you. So
But
again,
comments need to come through the chair.
okay, I'll look at the sun because I really don't want to have eye contact with
That's-
you for the
that's
entire
fine.
time. So I don't understand the difference.
Comments are to be made through the chair. That's all.
I'm not
I'm not-
just
that's all I'm
respecting
saying.
the chair. I'm not doing anything. I'm
I
just
understand.
not staring at you.
Okay.
Jeez, man. I thought it was going to be better. I obviously thought
It-
wrong.
It's going to be
She was
just fine.
horrible. Now it's just going to get better. Anyhow. Let's talk about Jeremy Betza. He's finally been relieved of duty. From August 12th to the 30th of December. He's finally relieved of duty. He has suits going in federal court, regular court, civil service actions, all of which you all have to pay for attorneys to defend the city. This is another place where we're wasting money, let alone the Todd Davis issue. But we can't figure out a way because we're too stubborn and we don't want to look bad. My opinion of the administration. Jeremy will end up winning, and it will cost a boatload, far more than the attorney fees.
Is that all you have?
I am not done.
Okay.
If I was done, I'd be turning around and walking away.
That's fine. It just
Thank you.
stopped.
So that we need to understand, I'll use my 5 minutes and maybe ask for more, considering you told me you'd give me another 30 seconds.
I did say that.
Jeez, oh man. Citizens of Avon Lake, I'm looking at the sun because I'm not allowed to look at the camera.
I didn't say you weren't allowed to look at the camera. I said the comments need to come through the chair.
My voice and everything is going right to you. How much more could there be? At some point, there will be additional change here in Avon Lake. We've managed to extradite 2 old-time city council people. There's 2 left, and then there's new blood. I'm hoping the new blood figures out a way to run our city better. Because at some point, we have to figure out how to be financially sound. Because again, ineffective leadership by the mayor and his team has caused damage to our pocket.
30 seconds.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So now, let's talk about the finances, truly. We have so many people making over $100,000 a year. And I'm sure job qualifications wouldn't require that. We have a finance department that's spending $225,000 on Miss Crossy and her assistant. I don't know that we ever had an assistant before. Need to
Your additional
tighten.
30 seconds is up. You can finish up what you had to say. Though.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just think that we need to find a better way to tighten the reins. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Anyone else? Seeing none, public input on the CCM portion is closed. I'll call to order the Finance Committee. I see that I'm here. Mrs. Fenderbosh, along with Mrs. Goodwin, are here. We have a quorum. First thing on the Finance Committee agenda is the approval of the minutes. Any changes or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, they will stand as presented. Next on the Finance Committee is a resolution to dispose of surplus or used city property via internet auction. That and the next item are two items that we see on a regular basis here at the city. I'm going to turn that over to the Finance Director to explain exactly what those are.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the resolution, the resolution to dispose of surplus or used items. So that is needed so that the various departments can dispose of things that are no longer needed for their departments. And the resolution to participate in cooperative purchasing programs. There are a number of these programs. The Department of Transportation, Ohio Department of Administration Services, the Government Purchasing Alliance, Sourcewell, and National Institute of Government Purchases. And that allows the city to not need to go through the bidding process, but get the best prices available.
Thank you. And relative to the selling of the items no longer needed, there's four sites that are listed there: govdeals.com, propertyroom.com, publicsurplus.com, and purplewave.com. Anyone have any questions regarding those matters? Go ahead, Mrs.
Right.
Fenderbosh.
I don't have a question. I think that there's an important piece of information the public needs. What we're doing tonight, internet auction, is from February 1st through December 31st, 2026. And for the second part of it, the cooperative purchase program, it's for the articles through the calendar year 2026. So it's not a one-time.
Yes,
Thank
but,
you, sir.
well, every year we go back and at the beginning of the year start those over.
That's correct. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else regarding that? All right. Next on the agenda is the resolution to place a 5-year 0.4% income tax for infrastructure improvements on the ballot. We heard several comments about that during the public presentations from the public input. At this point, I'd ask the Finance Director to address the income tax that we're going to be proposing for the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. So a number of these items that I will be presenting have been presented at the budget meetings with council and also during a previous Finance Committee meeting. So some of the facts that we have available here is that the current income tax rate has been 1.5% since 1992, with the last increase being over 33 years ago. It is the second lowest rate in Lorain County at 1.5%. There is no dedicated capital expense portion dedicated from the income tax. There has been a population growth since 1990 of 73%, from 15,000 to 26,000, approximately 26,000 in 2025, which has resulted in increased safety and service costs in general fund, leaving less funds available for capital needs. Roads have been identified as our number one capital need, with 222 lane miles to be addressed in some way and to be kept up, maintained, replaced, whatever the needs may be. So over the past 5 years, due to the population growth, this has necessitated increases in safety and personnel, service personnel, especially during the past 5 years. And this has decreased income tax funds available for capital needs. I have identified $34.8 million since 2021 that has been funded through the income tax for capital improvement funds. Roads, sidewalks, stormwater projects, catch basins, vehicles, equipments, the ALC project. So that has been done without a dedicated capital piece. For the 2026 budget, there are no new dollars available for income tax projects. So we will be using the current capital fund balance that has not been used for previously committed projects. And then for future needs, the next 5 years, we refer to the PMG road study, where there's been approximately $20 million in asphalt and $20 million in concrete roads that are at a score of 55 or below. There's an estimate that $2 million per year in maintenance is needed to keep an average score of streets at 73. $12 million is needed for 10 streets identified for replacement. $2.1 million in capital needs were not funded during the 2026 budget. $900,000 per year in vehicle leases and purchases are an ongoing cost that needs to be covered with capital funds. Some things that we've done to try and bridge that funding gap, or that we're attempting to do during the 2026 operating budget process. We asked departments to decrease their operating budgets by 7% wherever possible. They were also asked to limit overtime pay, and we have made some delays for new hiring, such as, there's several employees that there will be a delay during 2026. We are currently investigating alternatives to reduce our healthcare costs, which are substantial. On the revenue side, we're pursuing grants, and we have identified collection of revenue from a few new sources, and we will continue to do so. Despite these measures, and over the past number of years, the city has been experiencing declining fund balances, particularly with general fund and the capital improvement funds. In part, this is due to aging of roads and capital equipment and addressing those needs with an income tax structure that has not had a dedicated capital revenue stream. So I have identified 2 slides of projects that the city has been successfully able to complete and currently are working on in the $34.8 million that I identified that has been spent over the past 5 years. And I won't read through these, but you can see Walker Road Phases 3 and 4, ALPS, the RRFB project, some annual crack sealing that's done, outfall rehabilitation, asphalt and concrete replacement programs, the Lake Road Sidewalk project, and ALPS Phase 2 construction, and the Lake Road Sidewalk East project. Walker Road 5 got underway during 2025, and Walker Road Phase 6 will start design for 2026 construction, depending on the capital available. Installation of another RRFB, dredging, more crack sealing, and the electric road bridge replacement right here near Route 83. So again, we have been able to do that with the 1.5% income tax during these years. And although we have seen increase in income tax due to increase in wages, we have not been able to dedicate a portion of that for income tax capital improvements on an ongoing basis, thus the need for this proposed income tax increase. So some of the facts about this proposed tax increase: we would be increasing 0.4% income tax increase from 1.5 to 1.9%. It would be limited to a 5-year increase so that we can demonstrate what we can do with those tax capital funds. The credit would remain at 1.5%. The purpose would be primarily for road improvements, stormwater, vehicle and equipment, and associated debt obligations in regards to those improvements. The cost would be for approximately $400 per $100,000 of taxable city income. If this were to pass, the city would like to eliminate the 1.5 mil property tax. And we would like to remind folks that pensions, Social Security, income tax is not taxable. I'm sorry, pensions and Social Security income is not taxable. So you have here a portion of the proposed ordinance, and this ordinance would be on first reading, but it would eventually be approved by the voters, at which time council would then possibly move forward to approve. And I would like to, this will be read in a few minutes, so I won't read it again, but it does identify the specific areas that we are looking to fund with this 0.4%. But I would note that there is a placeholder for Chapter 886.01, and we have identified 50% for roads and 50% for vehicles, equipment, stormwater, that type of thing. That is only a placeholder, and that is up for discussion either tonight or next week. So that we just did not want to lose sight that council has asked that there be a designated portion go specifically for roads. So we just put a suggestion in of 50%, with the other 50% to be identified for the other needs. And if there is any portion of that 50% that might not be needed for vehicles or equipment or stormwater, that would also be added to the road budget. So, and then lastly, there is a proposed resolution for first reading, and that would go for 3 readings. And the purpose of that resolution would be to place the ordinance on the ballot for voters to approve. And again, within that resolution is the ordinance is identified, and there is the same language there for Chapter 886.01. We just put a placeholder in there for 50% towards roads and 50% for the other capital needs. So, did anyone have any questions or comments?
Yes, I do have a couple questions. Relative to the 50% for the roads and the 50% for the I mean, how did, is that, you said that's just a initial placeholder, that those numbers could go up or down depending on?
Yes, well, at this time, if council remembers, one of the income tax scenarios that was shown was $3.8 million would go towards the entire package, and then a portion of the debt up to $5.5 million for the entire proceeds. So we did identify, we are identifying a specific road program that is being put forth by Mr. Liskovec for Public Works.
Do we have that plan yet?
That is together.
Mr. Liskovec?
And hopefully,
We have the frameworks built out of it, and we just gotta plug in the actual roadway segments too.
Well, I think it's important that we have this. I understand that the ordinance needs to be put on and before the resolution, and we need to get the resolution going forward. But I think that we really need to see that plan as soon as possible. As to
Agreed.
as to exactly what you're gonna need and where it's gonna go. How much money total are you anticipating the income tax to bring in, Ms. Crossy?
So the 0.4% would bring in an additional 6.6 million. And then when we remove the property tax, that brings in 1.1 million. So we are thinking net proceeds of 5.5 million.
And relative to the removal of the property tax, well, we're gonna need another ordinance on that. When do you know, have you talked with Mr. Sharp about when we're gonna get that? So we can see the basics of that as well?
Yes, and I've talked with the county about that, so we will be walking through that process once this would be approved.
All right.
Yes.
I'm gonna go to committee members first. Ms. Fenderbosh?
Thank you very much. Ms. Crossy, your slides, can you give council a copy of all of them, please?
Yes,
So that we can refer to them when residents ask questions?
right.
Thank you very much. So if I'm understanding this correctly, not only is there a capital need, and we've identified it, we've identified a way to take care of that capital need of around $5 million a year, that's correct? But we've also found that we can give back to the residents additional monies that come in to a little bit over 1.1 million a year.
That's correct.
Through property tax, if this should pass. And at the end of the 5 years, this is non-renewable. This would have to, if it were going to go again before the public, come before the council at that point in time. And if it should pass, come before council at that point in time and have the numbers be proven as you've done here. I think in working with Mr. Liskovic, one of the items that just really stuck out to me is that, yes, we do have more employees today than we had 30 years ago. We also have more residents today. We have more services that are demanded of us today than we had of us 30 years ago. And we've done a darn good job stretching it as far as we can stretch it. And now there needs to be a different way forward. And one of the good things coming out of this, because no one wants to pay additional income tax, no one does. One of the good things coming out of this is that there's not only a street program going into place that Mr. Liskovic is going to be speaking more about on Wednesday at our public service meeting. There's a plan. There's a true plan of how to maintain those streets and to build those streets and bridges. And there's a true plan going forward of how the city is going to be prioritizing their capital expenses. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Goodwin?
I do have one question, and I may have just missed this part, so forgive me. But the 5.5 million annually for 5 years is specific for capital needs, right? But there's still other monies that are coming in that will go towards the general fund.
That's correct. This is
Okay.
specifically capital.
Okay, and then that is split 50 and, or X percent,
Correct.
when it's all said and done.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
between roads and then the other mentioned items.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I do have another question relative to, we've talked about the roads, making sure that the roads get the money that's needed to get them in repair. The portion that is set for the other capital projects, is there a plan out there for how we're gonna spend that money? So that we can be consistent with what we're advising the residents?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. This year, during the budget process, we have asked the departments to identify a 5-year plan for their capital needs, and we are aware of ongoing capital needs, and that's why I mentioned the $900,000. That's an ongoing capital need for leasing of vehicles and also purchasing of some departmental vehicles each year for the police department. Yes.
Thank you. Anything from the committee? Go ahead, Mrs. Goodwin.
I'm sorry, just one follow-up question, I think, to both of, so that, I'm sorry, the needs for, like, the equipment, things like that, is there a plan to have it separated out for, like, the whole length of this, right? It's not just, like, annually, like, there'll be.
Yes, well, annually, we would be receiving these funds, and that is why we would identify a percentage that would be specifically roads, and that would go into the roads fund.
Okay.
Specifically for roads, okay? So that percentage would be either spent, that year, or if there's a larger project coming in the following year, would be still specifically roads. And then whatever that other percentage might be, would go into the capital fund for the other capital needs, such as vehicles, equipment, stormwater.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just, like, compartmentalizing in my brain how that would look for, okay.
And this would all be specific capital needs. It would not go to general fund at any point. It's always capital funds. That's where it would remain.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mayor, you had a question or a
I
comment?
just want to elaborate for Councilwoman Goodwin. So each department that is a heavy user of capital equipment, Public Works, Fire, Police, have 5-year vehicle replacement plans roughly in place. So for example, John knows how many salt trucks he has. He knows that some of those are having issues and are out of service, and he has to buy new ones. So we have some that are in the queue being purchased. We know that there's going to be future needs for that, so we build that out into that 5-year plan. So those costs for those capital equipment, not just vehicles, but other equipment, is spread over that 5-year period. And it will continue, even after this is done and expires in 5 years. Those needs will continue, but we do plan for that 5-year period.
Yeah, and the request is for 5 years only, too. All right. Any non-committee members have any comments? I'll start with Ms. Gentry.
So, my understanding is, and from your presentation, we said that there was a $40 million requirement for maintaining concrete and asphalt. Is that?
Correct.
And this will raise 27.5.
Correct.
So we're not going to raise enough over that 5-year period. In addition, we're splitting it, so we've got 2.25 million going for the roads, and just to maintain the 73 takes 2 million. So
Correct.
I have a problem with the split.
Right, and
I
that's
don't
why
think
we're
we're going
saying
to be
that's a
making-
placeholder, and to be determined what percentage we want to actually, the biggest piece to actually delegate would be the roads. So that's the percentage that we would lock in, and then that other percentage would be for the other needs, equipment and vehicle needs, and then if perhaps there were not enough requests in that year, more could be used towards the roads, is the language we would like to get to. So, if that makes sense.
It does. So I would like to put 100% into the roads, but I'm probably going to get,
Right, right.
but it needs to be significantly more than 50%, in my opinion. So we can open that up for discussion. I don't know if this is this is where I think we need to go, but
Yeah.
2.5 or 2.25 isn't gonna do anything. Thank you.
And we certainly can raise that issue and discuss it here this evening. I have no issue with that. Thank you. Mr. Shamir?
As a follow-up to Ms. Gentry's comments, when we discussed this at the budget meeting, this was supposed to be allocated to roads. And my concern at that point was that we were deficient to maintain the PCI of good or 70, because that is at the $40 million when you look at it. So based on this plan, we're putting 13.75 million towards roads, that we have a study, and that tells us that if we don't put 40 million, we will start deteriorating our road to a point where it's going to cost a whole lot more to fix and maintain. I am a bit baffled on how we are going to allocate in an ordinance a 50-50 allocation, which is going to be law effectively, of, let me go back to the comment, the items that were sitting down, 50% for purpose of paying costs for maintenance, repairing, and improving city streets by constructing, reconstructing, widening, grading, draining, curbing, paving, and extending streets and related bridges. And then 50% for the purpose of paying costs of constructing storm sewers and related drainage improvements, installing traffic signals and signalization, and acquiring vehicle and equipment for city departments and functions. So do we have an idea of what the storm sewer requirements are? Is there a study? Have we looked at it? So what is that 50% made up of? Do we know what equipment we need? What that looks like? So this has evolved quite a bit differently than I foresaw during our budget meetings. If we want to maintain roads, we're trying to hopefully do a little more than just plugging a hole. Based on this approach, we will be hemorrhaging. And hemorrhaging is not what we want to do. And I understand we require tax dollars to fix the roads. But to plug a $40 million requirement with 13.75 million over that period is not there. I mean, I can't bring myself to understand how we're going to get there. And then to allocate 50% in this ordinance to something that we don't have any idea of what it looks like. I mean, I would like to see data, information, before I say, okay, 50% for the purpose of other stuff, stormwater equipment. And when you go down this path, you made a mention that there will be what will be the capital revenue for 5 years. This will be, what is the plan for 5+? So on year 6, what are we going to do? Are we going to request another set of taxes? What is the strategy that we are going to follow? Because at 13.75 and 40 million, we're probably going to be at $60 million in road repairs by year 6. Where's that money going to come from? So this is a very, very fundamental question for me, because yes, we do have the lowest rates in Lorain County, and we do need to upgrade our city streets. We also need to understand what the strategy is going forward from the date that we get the tax rolling until year 5, when there is not going to be a tax renewed based on this strategy. So these are clarification that I require as a resident and as a representative of my constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shamir. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I'd like to address a few of those if I could. So the 50-50, again, was a placeholder. We understand that council's gonna wanna massage that allocation, right, for the total dollars. Relative to the backlog of work that has to be done and the amount of money that we'll be raising, there's no doubt that we are not increasing taxes to the point where we can take care of that total backlog. We have to be able to be cognizant of the fact that we can't raise our income tax rate to 2.5% or 3% to get to that number, right? It's just not feasible. I mean, as a taxpayer, I don't want to pay that much. Nobody else wants to pay that much. But realizing that we have to start someplace. Without this income tax increase, it's only going to get exponentially worse. So we have, through our budget discussions that you've all been involved with, came upon 1.9 as a middle ground, so to speak, that will not be enough, but it'll be enough to stop the hemorrhaging as we look at other options. So I could ask Public Works Liskovic to do a very high-level look at what the program is, but as Councilwoman Fenderbosch indicated, we're going to be going through that on Wednesday. We'd be happy to have him just talk briefly about it. But that $40 million of backlog in road repairs is just what we've inherited, and we have to deal with that. And we're going to deal with it in the best way we can. And Mr. Schmier, you've talked about this, and I agree with you 100%, is let's not let our current roads that are in good shape get to the point where we have to rebuild them, right? Exactly. So a lot of these dollars are going to go to that, so we don't have to do that, as we then start to pick off those roads that do have to be completely renovated, which I think Mr. Liskovic did the analysis today, is about $4 million a mile. So let that sink in. $4 million a mile to renovate roadways. So we can't raise enough money to completely eliminate the road issues that we have. Relative to the split, you know, we do have other capital needs. The equipment that we use to do some of this work on the roadways is public works equipment, is roadway equipment that have to be paid through this capital as well, because we need that equipment to further the roadways. It does include police vehicles. Police department has been very good about minimal use of their capital needs. Fire department, we've pretty much taken care of, so we have a pretty clear looking fire department capital needs going forward. We're hoping that that will assist us. We also have to keep in mind that we will have additional general fund monies that if we have a balance, we can push towards the roads. This is strictly for allocating this money by law to these areas, the split of which is up to you all folks to decide. But keep in mind that we do have leases that are out there. Those leases will have to get paid. We currently don't have the funds to do that completely, so part of that has to go to that. So if we're paying for trucks for the Public Works Department through leases, some of this money has to be used for that.
Mrs. Fenderbosch.
Thank you. May I propose an idea, unless the law director says that we can't do it because I don't want it to be illegal? But why don't we just remove the words 50% and on paragraph CI and CII? Instead, start the paragraph I with for the purpose of paying, and II start it with for the purpose of paying, and don't lock ourselves into this 50%. And that way, we are able to utilize the funds that are there in the way that it is needed. Because I don't see anything in the language that says, oh, this is a placeholder. And I'm with my colleagues. If this is going to, when this becomes law, it needs to be enacted as law. And I don't want to be locked in where we can't do what we think we're going to be doing with the funds. Thank you.
Yeah, relative to that, the ordinance that we have is the initial ordinance that needs to be put into place before the resolution. The ordinance will not become law until after the resolution and in the event that the voters approve it. The more of a working document is the resolution with regard to the percentages and what will eventually end up in the ordinance itself. But I do agree that there's no question that the 50-50 split is not going to be right. I want to see the plan for the roadways in particular and what we're gonna need for those, along with a plan, which I guess they're gonna talk about in public service this week for the other funds, the capital need funds and the like. So I think we wanna keep some percentage in there, at least at this particular point, as a placeholder, which was, I believe, the recommendation of the council too, the legal counsel. Ms. Crossy, yeah.
Yeah, there is no requirement that we put those percentages in there. We were trying to be, council had expressed the wish to have, have dedicated funds for the roads. So we were trying to get at that, and that's why we're saying that's a placeholder there. So, I mean, we don't have to put any percentage in there.
Ms. Gentry.
Perhaps we should change it to a minimum of 50% for the roads.
We had discussed that as an option, or a little bit higher depending on what you all wanted. And again, we'll come back with what the other needs are, but we had suggested that same.
So
maybe
I'm
a
also
minimum.
concerned that that 900,000 is now also coming out of that, so that reduces what we're able to spend on roads even more. So I'm not sure if we will actually be able to even maintain with the 2 million. Unless I did bad math, and it's entirely possible I did bad math in my head on that.
Thank you. Mr. Shamir?
So I am with Ms. Gentry. I mean, I want to have a minimum percentage allocated to the streets. I don't want it to be lost in the fog of decisions in the future. But further, I understand that we're stuck with something that has been neglected for years before this administration took over. However, this is a strategy for 5 years. What does it look like at year 5+1? And this is my question. It is not that this is what's going to be, and then at year 6, where are we? What is the strategy? I think that needs to be a part of this initiative. It has to be. I mean, you can't allocate funding for something that is going to be left without a completion. And that completion requires a long-term plan. So this is a short-term 0 to 5. What is the 5 to 10, and what is the 10+ strategy? And it doesn't have to be specific at the 10-year plus, but it has to have a roadmap from 5 to 10.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think the roadmap, we could take a road plan out 10, 15 years. Of course, we have to be flexible as roads either deteriorate faster or whatever the case may be. We can certainly go out farther, understanding that the farther you go out, the more flexible you have to be. I would say year 5, we let the voters decide. I mean, that's really why we're capping this, right, is we're capping it at 5 years. It's not a forever income tax increase. We're allowing the voters the opportunity, when we get to that point, to decide if they want to keep taxing for those purposes.
Anything further on this? I would at this time make a motion for the committee to move the items of the ordinance 2601 and resolution 2602 to the CCM, and then for first reading at the special meeting tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, okay. All right, so it was 3-0, so move that. The other item that I see that wasn't on the agenda, but I do have the copy of the reader report, and I think you have it, Ms. Crossy, if you want to go over that, please.
Sure. So this is just for the month of January for this year, and we're at 1.3 million collections, and we are down slightly from 2025, about 5.7%. But in 2025, there was a large net profits tax that was paid. That's why 25 was a little bit higher. I did want to remark that this report has been restated for 25 and 24 to reflect the new way that we are recording our income tax net of refunds. And that's based on some comments made in a recent audit, so.
Thank you. Anything with regard to that item? If not, the Finance Committee meeting will now hear any public comment. You have 3 minutes regarding the Finance Committee meeting. Thank you. Mr. Baker.
Mr. Chair, Robert Baker, Avon Lake resident. Just trying to follow up. Lots of them. Bear with me. I don't have the luxury of seeing what you guys have in front of you in the proposed legislation. So just a little concerned as you're moving forward, and I know I was going to say if, but most likely a lot of this when tends to happen as a when. It's committed to move forward. We're at the 6.6 mil, and it's going to be 6.6, but only 5.5 if the city repeals the property tax. I didn't see in the resolution the resolution whether the property tax was being repealed. Would it not make sense, and maybe it is, if you're going to commit to move forward, that you commit to removing that language in the levy language, and then because, as Mr. Shamir has said, lost in the fog of decisions, unfortunately, as we found out, verbal commitments are often not kept, honored, or live across terms. When will the 5-year plans be released? And previously discussed, Mr. Cause was very clear to state, and this was sort of a consensus across, that this needs to be roads only. Wondering how we've moved off of that. Who will determine the split? Because is it a split that seems fluid? Because it sounded at the discussion level that it sounds very fluid and subjective to set. So I'm wondering how that's going to be achieved, and to make sure that it's not fluid and it's followed, because this was, as discussed initially and in your subsequent meetings, it's very clear that this was going to be roads only, and it seems to have expanded quite greatly. The sustainability and strategy of plans still seems to be a little elusive, so I'm looking forward to seeing some of those. What happened to the 100% credit, as most, if not all, other cities do that, and we have historically done that. Even if it went to 2%, it seems like, well, those that are working elsewhere, because I've been in that situation where now I'm not going to get the credit, so now I feel like I'm going to be paying more a little bit. 40 million. So this 40 million, it says it inherited as if it was as it may have been unknown. Just having trouble this, because some of council members have been or have previously been, and it just seems weird that, or strange that his appeared, or that we've not known this, and that the legislative body has the ability to control the power of the person to make those decisions and follow those. So I'm hoping some of those questions can be answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mayor.
Well, just real quick, we were talking about the property tax. The fourth whereas on the resolution number 26-02 speaks to the cease of collection of that income or that property tax.
Thank you. And relative to the split, that's going to be further conversation among everybody. I think part of it's going to have to deal with what exactly is going to be needed for the capital. Part of this, we've already heard that $900,000 has to be really set aside for the leases. So we'll continue to discuss that at council. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to come forward in the Finance Committee meeting of this portion of this meeting? Mr. Phillips, welcome back.
Yes, Gerald Phillips. You want to know why we got into this particular dilemma about the streets? We don't have an impact fee for developers. We let the developers in this town run the town. They come in, put their development in, and they put streets, and what kind of standards do we make sure that we get? They dedicate, when they file a subdivision, the streets. We inherit that. Do we have a bond? And what's the quality? And we can have an impact fee, but we don't. All right? So rather than the developers paying for it, the resident's gonna pay for it. Now, I can't understand why we're putting a Band-Aid in, 5 years at 5.5 is 27.5. The thing says 40 million. 900,000 for capital times 5 years is 4.5. 2 million maintenance is 10, that's 14.5. That's $13 million left. And there's something about 2.1. So what, we're gonna put $10 million for a $40 million problem? I don't see where that's gonna make it any better, all right? And I haven't looked at the report to determine how they prioritize the particular roads, okay? I've driven by, some of the roads are bad. You go into Westwind, some of them are bad, and Westwind's not that old. Is that because we had a developer, Bucky Koff, who owned the city, put in crummy roads? I mean, Bucky Koff owned this, and he's a convicted felon. So, the problem we have, we inherited it. And I've gone to many cities, and you know what? I've heard rezoning where we give things to developers. Pulte doesn't even pay for the gate, okay? We favor them. So, as far as the resolution on the property tax, a whereas clause isn't the law, okay? That whereas clause saying you intend to do it doesn't mean diddly squat. So you need an extra resolution that says that property tax is going to be repealed contingent upon the passage of the income tax. And if not, the residents of Avon Lake isn't getting any security for it. All right? That could be changed at the whim of anybody. And if it's not done that way, then everybody who goes to the ballot in May should vote no until they are assured that that property tax is going to be eliminated. And the whole purpose of this was for the streets. Now we're commingling it. The residents want the streets done, not this other stuff. And the question is, how much of the other general fund is going to subsidize the streets in the past? And how about the increase in income taxes? I haven't heard any of those numbers as far as helping that out.
Thank you. Anyone else? Welcome back, Mr. Zimmerman.
Thank you, sir. William Zimmerman, beautiful Avon Lake. So I've been attending these meetings for 3 years. Mayor Zilka was in charge then. And we talked about building of roads. There came a point where we didn't get the projections done for that year. He retired. New administration came on board. They inherited this issue. And then we went through a whole nother year and came to a point again where we were unable to fulfill what our projections had been. Therefore, we passed these building of the roads, repairs, whatever it was, and the bridge right outside the building here, on to the next year. So all we've done is continue to extend. We're not solving the problem. I don't believe we have a plan for it. This is an attempt, but I don't believe we have a true plan because the projections on the numbers are so low and there's no way that we can fulfill the $40 million. So you could raise taxes by 2% and may not come up with enough money to meet the 40, or the delayed projects that have been passed on. This to me, I don't dare say that. This to me has become an issue. I don't think we can fix it at this point in time. And now it's this administration's responsibility. And we're going to go to the voters, which we haven't had to for 30 years, to ask for money, to reach into your pocket. I don't understand it. So we have 900,000 in leases. Why can't we renegotiate? Why can't we try to save some money there? Why can't we maybe turn down a few vehicles? Try to come up with a way to save some money. I've already told you about all of the payments to everybody in the city who makes over 100,000, but nobody wants to give back or take back. Probably will never see that. I just don't understand how we can't have a better way of fixing this. At this point, it's not going to be fixed.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, that'll conclude the Finance Committee portion of this meeting. And I'll now turn it over to Chair of the Human Resources Committee, Matthew Reynolds.
Human Resources Committee is called to order at 8:06 p.m. There's a quorum for the committee with myself and Mr. Smith. The first order of business is the approval of minutes. The minutes from the November 10th, 2025 Human Resources Committee were previously distributed. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
None here, Mr. Chairman.
There being no corrections to the minutes are approved as prepared and published. And next on the agenda is the Human Resources Director report. Ms. Kernia.
Good evening, thank you. I'm here tonight to talk about the city engineer position, which we hope to hire for and fill in 2026. Council and the committee may recall that in 2025, the city placed numerous ads and interviewed candidates for a city engineer role. We also made a formal offer and an informal offer, both of which were declined, leaving us with no viable candidates for city engineer. So we stepped back and determined that we are going to resubmit the job ads with some additional that we did in 2025, including those on LinkedIn, Cleveland.com, simultaneously with the Fox 8 job board, Ohio Means Jobs, job board at the Ohio Municipal League, the American Public Works Association, job boards at the Ohio Society for Professional Engineers, Municipal Engineers Association of Northeast Ohio, Cleveland Engineering Society, County Engineers Association of Ohio, and our own social media website and scrolling signposts. In addition to all of those things, we also hope to post on college job boards at Cleveland State University and Case Western, hoping that we will get a good pool of candidates in this round so that we can source and hire a city engineer. So those will be our focused efforts in that position going forward. In addition, we are currently interviewing for an open position for a public works laborer. This is a position that was left open after a former employee had left the organization. And in the future, we will also be sourcing for an engineering tech 1, which position has been open for several months now. Any questions?
Did you say, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
thank you. Did you say when you were going to be putting these ads out for the city engineer?
Within the next month or two.
Okay, I'd like to see it sooner than later, please. Okay, that's all I had.
And I don't know if this is an option. Are you able to use a recruiter, or is it simply just putting out the ads for the role and then just hoping we get somebody to come back?
We have had two third-party recruiters involved in 2025 for the city engineer role. Neither was successful in sourcing candidates that fit the role. One told us more recently, like towards the end of summer in 2025, that they did have candidates that qualified for the role. However, none of those candidates were willing to drive to Avon Lake to work every day. So I guess we have multiple barriers to overcome with these candidates. But we're hopeful that we'll find, with all of these postings, and maybe renewing several of the postings, that we'll find some good candidates.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Ms. Vanderbosch?
Thank you very much. I have a question on a different topic, but it's still on the topics you talked about. As a public works laborer. So my understanding is that civil service, the list is not expired, correct?
Correct.
So can you take us through the process where we are and what the intent is with deadlines and dates?
The interviews that we have taking place now are taking place this Friday, so that's the 9th. We have 2 candidates coming in. Those candidates are, I believe, numbers 6 and 7 on the civil service list. We have already interviewed 1 through 5, and of 1 through 5, placed 1 public works laborer. So we had 2 open positions. 1 has been hired, and this will be the 2nd position that will be filled.
Thank you.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes, my question is with respect to the engineer position, and the question of, I'm wondering, why does it take another 30 to 60 days? Are we modifying the job description? Are we modifying anything within that criteria that it's going to take another 30 to 6 days to post?
It may take that long to post jobs, but we are also carefully monitoring our budget, and maybe the mayor or Ms. Crossie can speak to more of that.
I would just add that we have budgeted for 6 months of an engineer at this point. So working backwards, I think the process is going to take 3 to 4 months to complete. I don't think there's really anything additional we need to do. We want to get this out as quickly as possible. I want to be fair to HR director's time as well. There's a lot on our plate right now, so it's just a matter of getting all that work done. It's not as easy as just making a call. It involves a little bit more than that. But to your point, we do want to get it out there as quickly as possible.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes, well, I understand that we've got, 6 months of budget makes sense, but if we go through the process earlier, we have a better time of doing the assessment and finding the right candidate than waiting towards the end of it and then having to rush through potentially of candidates and a decision. I go through the process of hiring engineers for operations that we have overseas, as well as, there are people out there and resources are out there. Headhunters are available. So I do understand, but as Mr. Smith said, it's better to deal with it earlier rather than later. Thank you.
Ms. Gentry?
I don't see that hiring as cost beneficial if we delay, because we're paying for a city engineer anyway. We're paying a lot for Bramhall. They do great work, but it would be great to start bringing some of that in-house.
Ms. Vanderbosch?
Thank you. It says upcoming positions to be filled, engineering tech. Can you give us your timetable on that? And are we going to be going back to a list in-house before we go out? What is the process
I'm
in
probably
26?
not the best person to answer that question.
Engineer tech is a civil service position, so it's a tested position. The last time we did it, had 1 candidate, maybe? I don't recall the
The
numbers.
second time, did we have 4?
We have 5
5?
that have applied and are waiting for
Yeah.
an interview.
I don't know that they all met our minimum qualifications, however, I think when we looked at it. But again, that's another one that was budgeted for 6 months.
So if I am hearing you correctly, we have a list. We have candidates that have submitted their interest. So we need to interview them. We need to qualify them if they meet the minimum list. Have we done that? Have we not done that? I'm just trying to understand where we are, Mr. Mayor.
We have not interviewed them.
No, we're not interviewing them.
Are your thoughts, Mr. Mayor, in-house or has it been opened to applicants outside of the city?
No, it was advertised extensively, open to the outside. We don't have any internal candidates for it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I was just going to add on to what Ms. Gentry said, and that is that, when it comes to the engineer, I mean, if we can find an engineer, we certainly have the ability to make a budget adjustment for the money that we're spending on Mr. Howard. So I would like to see, again, I'd ask that move along a little quicker. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. All right, next is the Civil Service Commission update by Civil Service Clerk Rosemary.
Yeah. I just wanted to report that the commission is scheduled to meet this Wednesday for their annual meeting. And at that meeting is the time of year where they select their chairman, vice chair, and secretary and determine their schedule for the year. And then they'll go into the regular meeting where they'll just take care of some items that pertain to the police department. And we also, council just appointed or reappointed John Palinko as a member. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is public input. Members of the audience are permitted to speak only once for 3 minutes on any of the agenda topics.
Gerald Phillips. 51 applicants when Jonathan Likovic applied for Public Works Director. I've been here before many times talking about candidate number 1, candidate number 2, candidate number 3, candidate number 4. All engineers, all wanted that job. So we're here today, okay, because we screwed up. We screwed up. We had an opportunity to hire an engineer. They wanted the job. We had an engineer who was earning $100,000 who would have taken the job for $110,000, and we're paying a public works director who only has a 2 years associate's degree more than that. This is an example of mismanagement, okay? And why? Because Jonathan is Gary Ebert's son-in-law and Mayor Spetzel appoint him? I mean, that sure smells to me. That's not how you run a government. You run a government very efficient, okay? And we're paying Bramhall for $1 million a year. So budget-wise, we're gonna save money if we hire an engineer. We're going to save money, as Ms. Gentry talks about. $1 million a year. Mr. Shamir's talked about all the time. Now, I know Bramhall. I know Chris Howard. I know the owner, Mike Bramhall. They do good work, but they're expensive. They're expensive. That's why you have an in-house engineer. That's why you have supposedly an in-house law director, because you save money, but we spend $1.2 million. So we need an engineer. We had the opportunity to get that engineer, and we screwed up. People who were on council, when you approved that, you screwed up. Did you all look at the 51 applications? I did. I did. If I was on council, I would have looked. But I can't get on council because nobody ever would appoint me. I've applied many times. All right? And I'm better here telling the residents how the city and inform them of what really is going on in this city. And they need to know. They need to know what's really going on. And, we had a chance to hire an engineer. We did. And we wouldn't even be here today talking about it. So the residents should be aware that we blew it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else have comments?
William Zimmerman. I agree with Mr. Phillips from the standpoint that we had valuable candidates and chose none of them. It's caused us problem. At some point, we have to look in the mirror and recognize that we're at fault. And I don't mean the citizens. So, based upon the recent termination of Mr. Betza, I'd like to make a public records request for the mayor's termination notice and other items that I'll be glad to forward in an email in the next day or two. Because I don't believe that this has been handled properly. And that's why he's in court. People don't go to court unless they believe.
Point of order. I don't believe Mr. Betza is on the agenda.
Yeah, I think Mr. Zimmerman requested some public documents, whatever public documents, I'm sure they've made a note and they'll get them to him. Thank you.
So at this point, I'll make sure that I find time to get the requests so it's in writing, but I'm making oral requests right now so everybody's on notice and knows that I'm looking to get this information in regards to his dismissal. Don't believe it was treated fairly. Don't believe he was treated properly, professionally. And I believe that this is nothing more than a vendetta by the mayor. Just shows again the lack of leadership in our city.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience want to speak on anything on this agenda? No?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, we got him. We'll catch you on. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Point
We're
of
on
order.
to-
Can we take a break?
Sure. We'll be back at 8:25, please. Thank you. Okay, we're going to resume the collective committee meeting, which first on the agenda item is the finance committee meeting, which at the finance committee meeting, which we started at 7 o'clock this evening, we discussed the internet auction. There's a resolution will be on for first reading, I believe, Ms. Crossy. Or do you want us to suspend the rules on that? On the internet auction, do you want us to suspend the rules?
Yes, please.
Okay, so that'll be on for suspension of the rules, the internet auction, which is the ability to sell unneeded and unused equipment via the 4 internet providers that are in the ordinance or in the resolution. The second item that was discussed was the cooperative purchasing programs. We will be suspending the rule on that as well, which is to allow us to participate in the cooperative purchasing programs, which are set forth by the state, where we can see what items are there, and it avoids the necessity of all the various cities from having to bid out items that the state already has purchasing prices on. Third was the resolution that we have are actually first the ordinance to be read as a first reading. That will be an ordinance that will be ongoing and will be passed in the event that the following resolution thereafter is approved by the vote of the people of the city of Avon Lake for a 5-year 0.40 income tax for infrastructure improvements, mainly for the roads. There is included in that information or in that ordinance and in the resolution a 50-50 split of the money between roads and other capital projects, capital needs. That number is going to be discussed in greater detail and changed, I am sure, with the minimum probably to be used for roads out of that in the event it is passed, and the subsequent meetings that we're going to have on that. So you can likely see that will be, that portion of it will be changed. Also in the resolution is the indication that we intend upon withdrawing a property tax issue, and that property tax issue will, of course, require another resolution down the road to remove it from the rolls that the people have to pay, which is approximately $1 million in revenue that we're going to cut back on. So that is going to be on, the first reading of both of those items will be on the special meeting. We will need a motion to add the ordinance to the special meeting, which I will make at the appropriate time. I will open the floor up. Does anybody have any questions or more comments regarding the income tax? Down on my left? Seeing none, Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. Just for clarification, so everyone in the room, everybody that's watching, understands the timetable and what is required. So do we need to let the Board of Elections know that we're going to be eliminating the 1.5 property tax? Is that part of this vote? That will be going in front of them on a ballot? Is that something that's done in-house? What is the process and what is the timetable for it?
My understanding is that will be done in-house. We will have the resolution to do that, and then when the voters approve the 0.4 income tax, council will do the appropriate legislation to remove that from the ballot, from the tax rules.
So the public does not need to vote on that?
That's
item.
correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Shamir?
I just want to make a clarification. I think you made a mention that the minimum would be used for the roads. I think you meant maximum?
No, I thought I meant minimum.
Minimum.
The minimum of at least 50, minimum of
okay.
60%,
Minimum.
minimum of 70%.
Okay, perfect.
Whatever we decide on as a
Okay.
council.
The
So
other
that
thing-
will be amended at some
Okay,
point.
thank you. The other thing is, I just sent a email to Ms. Crossy with respect to the breakdown of, percentage breakdown based on the 50% streets and the 50% stormwater traffic and equipment of what the anticipated breakdown over the next 5 years would be. So if you could forward that to us, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Anything further? All right. Well, next we have legislation, but there was an HR committee meeting. Would you like to report on that committee at this point, Mr. Reynolds?
Like my microphone to work on. It was a brief meeting. We, HR director spoke on the hiring of possibly an engineer at some point in the process. Not much else to report from the meeting.
Thank you. And right before we went to adjourn, the mayor, you had a question, but we had already moved to adjourn. Was there something that you wanted to add?
I wanted to respond to the talk about the engineer and the Public Works Department position in the 51 applications. So we did receive 51 applications. 3 of them were engineers. However, at the time, of course, we were hiring a Public Works director, not an engineer. They had no Public Works background that would have been pertinent to this job. We did send those 3 engineer candidate that applied for our Public Works an opportunity to apply for our engineering position, and we received no response from those 3 engineers regarding our engineering position. So I just want to make it clear that we did do that. Not that I have to reiterate this, but Jonathan Liskovic was the most qualified candidate. Again, we were hiring a Public Works director, a position that John had done and done well in Bay Village, in a similar community with the similar issues and challenges that we faced, issues and challenges that he solved in Bay Village. So I find it a little disconcerting that I again have to defend an employee who does an excellent job and has been doing an excellent job and is moving us forward. It's just unfortunate I have to keep doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? We have first reading legislation, which will be the first reading, will be in the special meeting of legislation, resolution 26-02 and ordinance number 26-01. Any further comments on any of that? If not, any miscellaneous business or announcements that anyone would like to make? Hearing none, I will adjourn the collective committee meeting. Next, I will call to order the special meeting of City Council, remembering that at a special committee meeting, Nothing is to be acted upon or done other than what's on the agenda. And I guess we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would ask Mr. Liskovic to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Here.
Ms. Gentry?
Here.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Here.
Mr. Koss, Mr. Reynolds?
Here.
Mr. Shamir?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mayor Spetzel?
Here.
Law Director Ebert?
Here.
Finance Director Crossy?
Here.
Public Works Director Liskovic.
Here.
Thank you. Legislation. I will make a motion to add ordinance number 26-01 to the agenda for the special meeting, as it is part and parcel to Resolution 26-01. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes. Are you ready? All right. Having been added, I would ask that the clerk read by title only, ordinance number 26-1.
An ordinance declaring.
Oh, you got the wrong one.
No, I have it right here. You know, I started. I'll use yours, sir. An ordinance amending sections 886.01, 886.03, 886.04, and 886.06 of the city's codified ordinances to provide for the levy of an additional 0.4% income tax for 5 years, commencing January 1st, 2027, to provide funds for the purpose of paying cost of 1, maintaining, repairing, and improving city streets by constructing, reconstructing, widening, grading, draining, curbing, paving, and extending streets and related bridges, and 2, constructing storm sewers and related drainage improvements, installing traffic signals and signalization, and acquiring vehicles and equipment for city departments and functions, including debt charges on city notes, bonds, or other obligations issued for those purposes, and declaring an emergency.
I move this the first reading of ordinance 26-01. This is the first reading and only reading that we're going to have regarding this ordinance for the income tax increase until after or such time as the voters vote pursuant to the next resolution to approve such income tax. Any other further comments? Mr. Shamir.
Yes, I will be supporting this pending receipt of the 5-year discussed plans, as well as the plans for allocation of funds, and the 5 to 10 year and the 10-year beyond plan. So that is something that I'm looking for, hopefully much sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shamir. Anyone else? All right. Next on the agenda that concludes the first reading of ordinance number 26-1. Next on the agenda is resolution 26-2. If you could read by title only, please.
A resolution declaring the necessity of an election on the question of approving the passage of an ordinance amended sections 886.01, 886.03, 886.04, and 886.06 of the city's codified ordinances to provide for the levy of an additional 0.4% income tax for 5 years, commencing January 1st, 2027, to provide funds for the purpose of paying cost of 1, maintaining, repairing, and improving streets by constructing, reconstructing, widening, grading, draining, curbing, paving, and extending streets and related bridges, and 2, constructing storm sewers and related drainage improvements, installing traffic signals and signalization, and acquiring vehicles and equipment for city departments and functions, including debt charges on city notes, bonds, or other obligations issued for those purposes, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I move the first reading of Resolution 26-2. We've discussed this several times this evening already. This is a resolution that will be presented and forwarded to the Board of Elections to request that the issue of a 0.40% income tax be submitted to the City of Avon Lake voters for their consideration. Anything further from anyone? Mr. Shamir.
Again, I will be supporting this pending receipt of the 5, the 10, and the 15-year plans, as well as the maintenance schedules and the documentation that I've requested. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone further? Okay, seeing none, that concludes the first reading of Resolution number 26-2. Next on the agenda is an executive session. Mrs. Fenderbosh, would you?
Thank you. I move in compliance with the Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G1, 2, and 3. Council will adjourn to executive session to consider the dismissal of a public employee, the purchase or sale of property, and pending court action.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Fenderbosh,
Here.
Mrs. Gentry,
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
You also need the mayor, finance, Mr. Morrow, and myself.
Okay. For the executive session, we'll need Mayor Spetzel, Mr. Law Director Ebert, Finance Director Crossy, and Utilities Executive Director, Mr. Rob Monroe. Thank you. And we will not be taking any action following the meeting, and we'll re-adjourn as soon as the meeting is over. Thank you.